It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday, discussing incredible classic beers. And the beer I have in front of you today, I hope many of you are familiar with because it was for a lot of us maybe like our first foray into kind of European craft beers and more, widely more different styles than just your typical European lager, and that is their Tucher Hefeweizen. And I have kind of waxed poetic a lot about Hefeweizens and wheat beers over the years because they're kind of what got me into craft beer in general. And I've talked, of course, about Franziskaner and Weizenstephaner, two of my favorite Hefeweizens. And I don't know why this is kind of slipped beneath the cracks for me, and we haven't talked about Tucher yet, because Tucher was at one point really the most widely available of the German Hefeweizen beers that you could actually get in some, bottle shops and things of that nature, but also in a lot of like European centric bars. There was a place called the Blue Anchor in Delray Beach, a place I hung out at a lot in the kind of mid 2000s, a little bit later on, 2010s. And this was a beer. They had a few kind of English style pale ales and things of that nature, but my go-to every time was the Tucher Hefeweizen, and I loved the fact that I could get this beer, and it was so flavorful and so interesting as opposed to everything else that was available in similar kinds of bars, because most places were just, at that time, it was a beer wasteland in South Florida, and you get lucky to get a Chimay White, or you get lucky to get maybe a Dr. Shed 60, but Tucher was more widely available in those places, and it was fantastic because this is a great Hefeweizen. It comes in at 5.2%. It has those classic flavors we're looking at: banana, clove, bubblegum. Those are kind of the three flavors that in different proportions you might find it in a Hefeweizen that of your choosing, or one that you've had recently. What I love about this beer is that a lot of people who don't care for the yeast strain, which is one of the major drivers of flavors for all these phenols and esters that come out of this beer, a lot of people that don't like that strain, they call this sweet. And they say, oh, I don't like that beer, it's too sweet. When you drink this beer, and I've had hundreds of Tuchers over the years, the perception of sweetness is in the fact that you're tasting that bubblegum and banana, and your brain tricks you into thinking this beer has a lot of residual sweetness to it. But if you think about it, this beer is relatively dry. It's really, really drinkable. It's really refreshing. And those flavors are well balanced with the other malt flavors, a slight kind of herbaceous old world hop profile. And I get it. If this is not the style of beer that you like, and you're not into those esters and phenols that come out of a Hefeweizen yeast, you're not into the esters and phenols that come out of Belgian style yeasts that are used for white ales and triples and quadruples, I get it. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. That's fine. But when it comes to a well-made version of this beer that is dry, drinkable, and really, really complex, I think Tucher deserves to be up there with kind of maybe the more prestige styles like Weizenstephaner, because it's the oldest brewery in the world, and because it has won so many awards and is identified so much as being like kind of a benchmark for the style. Tucher is in that ballpark, in that range, because it is fantastic. It was widely available for a long time, and it gave so many people their first introduction to a wheat beer, to a Hefeweizen, and to European beers that were not just pedestrian kind of bland lagers. And as we know, there are Helles lagers, and there are Marzens, and there's so many other great beers that come out of the German beer culture that still to this day are not dominant from those kind of flavors that we taste here in the United States. So I can't believe I haven't talked about this beer before, because it is such a beer that is so important to me in my journey of craft beer, because when I went to a bar and they had nothing else that I liked, I could go, oh, they got Tucher, I'll have one of those. And that is almost to say, like, I settled for it. It's a great beer, and it's a great thing to settle for. If you're looking for an IPA, or you're looking for a porter, you're looking for a different craft beer style, and they've got a Tucher, it was always a good time in a bar that I knew I could go back to when I wanted a good beer and did not have to be served just kind of crappy faux micro beers that were kind of like simple and one-dimensional, maybe even owned by one of the big breweries, or those lagers that were kind of flavorless and one-dimensional. It's the first time I've revisited this beer in quite a while, mostly because I don't go out to bars and restaurants as much as I used to. And just going through the motions, I don't see this beer at grocery stores and stuff. I'm not sure. I believe that I used to be able to pick them up at Publix, at least, several years ago. But I saw this at Total Wine & More. The cans really kind of shook me because I'm used to this beer being served in a bottle. So it took me a double take to go, oh, wait a minute, that's the Tucher Hefeweizen. Available in a 4-pack of tall boy cans. Delicious, good price, and really, really accessible. Great beer for craft beer lovers, and also a beer to get other people involved and interested in craft beer. So cheers to this beer that I cannot believe it's taken me over 2 years, over 3 years, I should say, at Old Favorite Friday to talk about. Cheers to a style of beer that is just endlessly complex and really, really interesting. The final thing is talking about food pairings. For lunch today, I had some shrimp spring rolls with a peanut dipping sauce. I wish I still had that here because I think it would have been a perfect match for this beer. I think that the fruitiness lends really nice to all like the herbs. We have like some mint, and we have some other different herbs that go into the spring rolls. I think that the fruit would have played off that really well, and then that clove and the phenol aspect of the beer would have heightened those kind of flavors. It also is a soft beer, mouthfeel wise, but it has some nice effervescence as well that helps kind of cut through some of the fattiness of the peanut sauce. I think it would be a really, really good pairing. I have some more of those spring rolls at home, and I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to try it out. So guys, thank you very much as always, for checking in with us for Old Favorite Friday. And if you guys haven't had one of these in a while and you love this beer in the past, let me just tell you, as someone who drank this beer for a long time, the quality is still high. It's still fantastic. It's still accessible. And I hope you guys will pick one up for Old Favorite Friday. Please also tell us what you're drinking for Old Favorite Friday. And poke around the channel, like, subscribe. We'll really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Cheers.